The world of Dishonored is a complex one, but yet it is such a special one that it deserves to be revealed to those that have not or cannot play the games it comes from. For this purpose, this video should serve as a simple introduction to the world of Dishonored, made especially for those that are hoping to play the Dishonored role-playing game, but cannot play the games themselves. Fair warning, this recap will spoil Dishonored, The Knife of Dunwall, Dishonored 2, and Death of the Outsider. Let us begin. There are many things certain in this world. Blood, pain, conflict. But there is none more certain than the void. The void is a vast, empty plain, separate from the world, but part of it in so many ways. Many throughout the Isles theorize that everything in the universe centers around the void, and will eventually draw ever nearer towards it. But conversely, the chaos of the void is also theorized to bring about the world, launching the world into its genesis. Due to the presence of the void, much of the Dishonored series focuses on the seeming inevitability of chaos and destruction. One single act can tilt an entire world on its edge, drifting closer and closer to the void. It is a common belief around the Isles that the void is where one goes after death, the soul drifting apart into nothingness within it. Because of the thought of facing the terrifying unknown, many sought to tame the void, harnessing its power to bring order out of chaos. One of these forces, a cult dedicated to giving a face to the void, gave rise to the most prominent figure throughout the Dishonored world, the Outsider. Very little is known about the Outsider himself, though his existence is never doubted in the Isles. He is very real to all and feared by many. The Outsider views himself as a sometimes intervening watcher, granting powers to a select few along with his mark. As for the world of Dishonored, very little is known of the past. Unknown civilizations have risen and fallen, with records or any sign of these nations gone. What is known now is the Empire of the Isles, a diverse set of islands all swearing loyalty to a single throne in Dunwall after the War of Four Crowns in 1626. At the center of the empire lies Gristol, the largest nation in the Isles, both geographically and politically. The land of Gristol, much like England of our world, is noted by its rolling green hills and foggy meadows. On the southern end of Gristol, its capital, Dunwall, sits at the mouth of the Wrenhaven River. The city is completely industrialized, an economic hub for the world's most profitable industry, whaling. As the capital of Gristol, Dunwall also serves as the capital of the Empire, the monarch of Gristol also acting as the Emperor or Empress of the Isles. To the south lies sunny Serkonos, known for its vast beaches and warm climate, similar to Greece and Spain. At its capital of Karnaca, a duke or duchess rules the island, keeping order throughout the land with the Grand Guard. To the northwest lies the cold, harsh land of Tivia, which is known for its massive ice plains and extreme weather, much like Russia. Tivia is ruled by a complex system of government that attempts to appear democratic, but in reality is as harsh and unforgiving as the land itself. To the northeast lies the rebellious Isle of Morley, similar to Scotland and Ireland of our world. The area has similar weather and topography to Gristol, but its people are anything but Gristolian. Over the years, Morley has unsuccessfully risen against Gristol, attempting to gain its independence, but always being crushed by the massive military might of the Empire. Under the Empire's rule, Morley, like the other Isles, is allowed its own self-government, albeit restricted. The Kingdom of Morley is led by a joint monarchy of a king and a queen, which can be prone to conflict. Due to this tumultuous history with the Empire, Morlians are known as a highly independent people. And of course, to the east lies the far continent, Pandysia. Very little is known about it, as most from the Isles that travel there never return, or come back changed, scarred, and oftentimes insane. Larger than any other landmass in the world, Pandysia is rumored to be the home of a now fallen ancient civilization, as well as extremely dangerous yet exotic wildlife. The culture of the Empire of the Isles, though distinct in each island, finds commonality through certain institutions. The whaling industry is a part of every island, sailors from every nation braving the waves in order to hunt the massive beasts that find their home all across the ocean. Also uniting the Isles is the mindset of safety in familiarity. Outsiders in every nation always warrant fear and paranoia. This mindset also speaks to the conservative reaction to anything new, different, or challenging the norms that exist across the Isles. Technology of the Empire of the Isles is one of the more distinct parts of Dishonored lore. The primary technology in Dishonored is powered by an unlikely source, whale oil. Highly flammable, yet efficient in internal combustion, whale oil powers everything in the Isles, from ships to electric lights to motorized carriages to security systems and even eventually weaponized automatons. Religion in the Isles walks a similar path to the culture of safety and fear of the unknown. In days long ago, diverse religions found their home across the Isles, especially worship of the outsider. This diversity eventually died out to a faction that still holds massive influence across the Empire: the Abbey of the Everyman. This religious order was founded on the single desire to fight the influence of the outsider by any means necessary, and in fact has no deity to worship. The only worship for those of the Abbey lies in guarding one's conduct in order to protect oneself from the strange forces of this world: chaos, selfishness, and of course, the outsider. In 1705, the Abbey began the Rectification War, purging the Isles of recognized worship of the outsider. At the end of this war, the Emperor of the Isles made the Abbey of the Everyman the official religion of the Isles, which still stands to this day. Though recognized worship of the outsider no longer remains, he still does, and still holds influence over the world. His presence, as well as the touch of the void, forms many of the conflicts of the Dishonored franchise. The games themselves have looked at specific individuals marked by him, special people that have drawn the outsider's gaze and given a mark on their hand and powers of the void. All the games examine these individuals, the power they use, and the choices that they make. The first of these saved the Empire from the brink of disaster: Corvo Attano. In 1837, the rat plague had swept across Dunwall, a mysterious and deadly disease originating from Pandysian rats, who now fill the streets. In the midst of this crisis, Empress Jessamine Caldwin was assassinated by the outsider-marked assassin, Dowd. The Empress's bodyguard and secret lover, Corvo Attano, was framed for the assassination and the abduction of her heir, Emily Caldwin, by the royal spymaster, Hiram Burroughs, who in fact was the true origin of the assassination in order to seize control of the Isles as Lord Regent. After escaping prison with the help of loyalist conspirators, alongside being marked by the outsider, Corvo eliminated every co-conspirator of the Lord Regent, eventually re-establishing his daughter Emily on the throne. Thanks to Corvo's restraint in dealing with Emily's enemies, two of the Empire's brightest minds, Piero Joplin and Anton Sokolov, were united, and eventually discovered a cure to the rat plague. At the end of Dishonored 1, the Empire was at peace. The rat plague was cured, and a new, hopeful empress was on the throne, guided by the caring hand of her father, Corvo. All during this time, the assassin Dowd dealt with the guilt of killing the empress. Though he had killed plenty before, something in the assassination of Jessamine Caldwin drove him to a path of redemption, taking a mission from the outsider. His target was another threat to Emily Caldwin, a witch by the name of Delilah, also marked by the outsider. Like Corvo, Dowd surgically neutralized any supporters of Delilah with little force, including his own traitorous lieutenant, Billy Lurk. To stop Delilah, Dowd trapped her within the void using Delilah's own magic. Despite this, Delilah was not finished. When Dishonored 2 begins, 15 years have passed. Emily Caldwin has grown in stature and in skill, being taught in the art of stealth and infiltration by the best, her father Corvo. But this maturity soon finds itself tested by the return of Delilah. After being brought back to the material plane by a group of notable followers in a seance, Delilah entered Dunwall Tower, claiming to be Empress Jessamyn's sister, and thus true heir to the throne. With the help of Duke Luca Abel, the monarch of Serkonos, and his grand guard, Delilah seized the throne of the Isles, freezing Corvo Ortano in marble with her outsider-given powers and eliminating any opposition in Dunwall with merciless action. Alone, Emily Caldwin fled Dunwall Tower and gained support from a local ship captain by the name of Megan Foster, taking her ship, the Dreadful Whale, to the capital of Serkonos, Karnaca, to deal with the various supporters of Delilah in order to find her weakness, as well as rescue an old friend, Anton Sokolov. Like her father, Emily was visited by the outsider and was granted his mark, using the powers to eliminate Delilah's support without shedding any blood, placing Duke Luca's body double on the throne instead. Returning to Dunwall, Emily manipulated Delilah's powers to trap her within the witch ruler's perfect dream, all the Isles devoted to worship her for all eternity. With Delilah unknowingly trapped indefinitely and Emily Caldwin the Just on the throne, the Isles were then again stabilized, albeit briefly. The last event to happen in the Dishonored franchise is in fact the largest and most influential event in the history of the Isles. Megan Foster, the ship captain that traveled with Emily during the coup of Delilah, began looking for an old friend, Dowd, who knew her by a different name, her true name, Billy Lurk. After rescuing Dowd from a Karnacan gang, she found out about his final mission. Still deeply regretting the things he did, Dowd sought to punish the person he believed was truly behind it all, the outsider himself. With Dowd's help, Billy acquired the twin-bladed knife, a supernatural, void-touched weapon that was used thousands of years ago to sacrifice a child in order to give a face to the void, the creation of the outsider. The weapon that brought the outsider into existence could surely bring him out of it. After Dowd died of natural causes, Billy took the mission on alone, entering the void from a ritual hold held by a new generation of outsider cultists. What actually happened in the void is a mystery. Some say that Billy drove the twin-bladed knife straight into the outsider's heart. Others say she found a way to spare him, saying his real name to free him from the void and return him to the mortal world to live a normal life. Whatever happened in the ritual hold, one thing is certain. The outsider is no more, and the world will be forever changed. The history of Dishonored, and the tone of the games, is especially focused on the effects of single individuals. Any single person can change history, for better or for worse. So what will you do? Will you stand as a bastion of mercy and justice? Or will you seek power, wealth, and fame, no matter the cost? Will you operate in the shadows, or will your name be written in the minds of every citizen of the Isles? The choice is yours.